our esteemed panelists as they join in. I'll be inviting them up on stage and you can greet them, sir, as they join us. We have amongst us Mr. Vishok Mansingh, CEO of Viman. Let's give him a nice warm round of applause. Welcome, sir. Pleased to join us. We also have amongst us Mr. Marcel Pastuska, CEO of Lufthansa Technic Services India. Thank you so very much for joining us. We'd like to welcome Mr. Prem Garg, the CEO of India One Air. We'd like to welcome Mr. K.S. Srikanthan, Vice President Engineering, Star Air. Welcome, sir. Let's have a nice warm round of applause. We'd like to welcome Mr. Gagan Jacobs, Director, Skyports Solutions, IFSC. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. And finally, we'd like to welcome Mr. Gaurav Rahul, Consultant, IFSCA. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Please make yourselves comfortable. And we'd like to hand over to the subject master to take this session forward.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction and the opportunity to host this session. I'm very happy to be moderating, this very interesting panel discussion on leasing, PBH, and airtime, and economics of maintenance. These all are very relevant questions today. And, I'm sitting with the masters of the game, and they are very well-known faces in India and abroad. But let me, request my esteemed panelists to just say a few words about them, starting from the rightmost, Mr. Vishok Mansingh. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Vishok Mansingh. I work in Viman, which is a leasing company and asset technical management company.
Yes, hello. My name is Marcel Pastuska. I am the CEO of Lufthansa Technic Services India. Lufthansa Technic's present in India, based in Bangalore. Nice to meet you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Srikant. I am Vice President Engineering in Star Air, based in Bangalore.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gagan Jacobs from Skyports IFSC. We are one of the largest rotor wing lessors in the country.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gaurav. I work as a consultant at the IFSCA, the International Financial Services Service Authority, which is a financial regulator based in Gift City. So, anyone willing to set up aircraft leasing company there in the Gift City, we are the regulator, we are the one who gives you the license for it.
Thank you everyone, and welcome all of you to the panel discussion. Let me first open the floor by asking a general question, and please come in if you have to make any comment. Maybe Vishok sir can start first. That over the last few years we have seen supply chain constraints has been a major issue for the entire aviation industry, including engine issues in particular. So how do you think as a lessor and asset management company, these issues are impacting the overall situation in India in particular?
If you look from the leasing point of view, the asset value retention and asset ability to produce revenues are very, very important. 10 years back, the last 3 decades, the maintenance has become very routine job. Aircraft technologies are matured, engine technology is matured. The maintenance events were very predictable. The cost of the maintenance was very predictable. For the last decade, with the new generation technology, which is still not mature, especially engines, the event cost, reliability as well as durability become a big challenge. So which used to be a very routine maintenance job has moved to become a very strategic business risk management for both, for lessor as well as an operator. And that's a major shift that happened in the last 10 years because of the maturity of technology as well as the supply chain management. So now, as the lessors, we have to ensure that we are protected on the exposure on the technology as well as the maintenance EBIT management. Because if a lessee is not able to operate aircraft, generate a revenue, the effect comes back to the lessors. And the residual value of assets also depend how the maintenance is done, how the asset availability is there. The big challenge is coming because of these maintenance issues. We call it not only physical maintenance, the maintenance management. The 6-year-old aircraft is getting parted out. The complete business model which used to work on at least 12-year cycle for stage of the maintenance till aircraft become mature has come in 6 months because of the maintenance issues and maintenance management. So there's a lot of change which has made the maintenance a forefront. And I used to always say maintenance was always like a spine of the body. It is always very essential but never visible. With all the supply chain issue and technology issues, it has come forefront and it is a move in a big business continuity and business risk management.
Thank you, Ashok, for these wonderful comments. Srikantan, you want to add something to what Viman has stated?
Yeah, right point that he pointed out that the maintenance is the backbone of the invisible backbone, which is very important for the aircraft, the life extension or utilization increase. This is very, very important, but not much of an attention is being paid in that scenario. Of course, nowadays with the modern aircraft technology, with the skywires and AHM, with central maintenance computers, they are able to download the data, do some predictive maintenance. So that is one of the value additions for ensuring that the defects are captured well in advance and they are prepared well in advance and we avoid an AOG or a long time.
Thank you, Srikantan. And whenever we are talking about the usage of engines, aircraft, maintenance, costs, etc., one very important phrase these days is PBH. We all know how important this has been. So, Srikanth, in your experience, because you come from an engineering background, would you want to make few initial comments about this entire PBH structure and how you think it's useful for the airlines in particular?
A very pertinent question in the current scenario where airlines are bleeding and they become the unpredictable cost. The PBH gives you some predictability to your cost and cash out month on month, rather than you owning up the asset and then spending on the repair, then waiting for the turnaround time, then the part becomes obsolete. So all these issues are now taken care by the PBH, especially for the components. So when you enter into a PBH contract, you have a visibility of your monthly cost towards it, because the service provider charges you per flying or per landing basis, whatever is the agreement. So the cost cash outflow becomes very, very predictable in PBH contract. Similarly, when you come to the engine management program, similar process wherein you don't know what you're looking at when the engine goes to the shop. When you have this, PBH agreement with an engine OEM for a shop visit, then you know that your cost you are looking at down the line, maybe 3 years, 4 years, when the engine goes for a shop visit, is very, very predictable. With a very, very little, increase or decrease, increase mostly. It never comes down. So very, very marginal increase, so that the airline can manage that.
Thank you, Srikantan. Gagan, maybe next question to you and related to PBH only. You can add to what Srikantan has said, and also we heard a lot about PBH arrangement during the pandemic, but you think that is going to be a permanent feature going forward as well?
Absolutely, because PBH is a kind of insurance, a maintenance insurance we would say. If an airline is running without a PBH, he is not only sure of his next event happening, there would be cash problems, there would be shop visit findings which would be not sustainable. So having a PBH is a maintenance insurance, and airline having a PBH, I'm very sure rests his mind at peace. We as a lessor, we have a mandate, a very clear mandate that every lessee has to have an OEM PBH. Pandemic has changed, definitely it has changed the view. From OEM sides, they have stepped back from the PBH model and rather going on event-based model. But the customer is still right on the PBH model. They do not want to step away from it.
Thank you, Gagan. Vishok sir, before I move on to the other panelists, would you want to share your thoughts on this entire PBH arrangement and how it is helpful for the airline and why they should opt it?
So if you're the leasing business, the leasing business basically works on the predictability and accuracy of the cash flow. How much is cash flow we're going to get, what is going to be my maintenance exposure, and with the current situation, the predictability of the maintenance exposure and timing has become a very, very critical. One of the more important has come in supply chain, also the slot availability. You have an aircraft asset sitting, there is no slot for a year for engines. So the full leasing work on the very predictable cash flow. What we're going to invest, what we're going to return on that, what is going to be my exposure, and the risk rate has become big risk. So PBH really helps to reduce the fluctuation of the cash flow for operators. Is a very good to operate aircraft regularly. This also helps us to increase the value of assets because my aircraft are maintained. When I'm transferring it to the new lessee, I transfer the PBH agreement with them, and it really increases the advantage of the PBH from the previous and carried forward. So it's a very, very important. But then it's become a very important, and as a lessor, we interact with the operator to get right PBH. The coverage is correct, the exclusions are reduced, so we don't have any unknown, and transferability is there. So there are PBH is again a very, very scientific, very, very specialized area, and one of the very neglected area. People just think they will talk and we sign a PBH and everything is signed, you don't have to do anything more than that. So it has to go detailed. It's a very, very specialized area for the leasing. It helps us to reduce our exposure. It helps us to maintain the value of the asset. So for us, PBH is very, very important.
Thank you very much. And these are of course extremely vital points that Vishok just made. And today we have the advantage of Lufthansa Technik being with us. Marcel, you are one of the world's leading MRO facility provider. In your view, how are engine issues and supply chain issues impacting the airline and the overall aviation ecosystem from an MRO perspective?
That's a suggestive question, I guess. I think we all know that the transition, especially to new engine types, is a big challenge for the entire industry right now, and is heavily affecting us. And I guess particularly in India, you have seen significant consequences of reliability issues that we have seen. To be fair, also, I guess that's quite common actually when you transition into new technologies, but it is certainly posing a challenge. We as Lufthansa Technik, we are in the middle of it. We have significantly invested in the past years into capabilities on the new engine types. We are a service provider on the GTF, where we have already had more than 1,000 shop visits by now. We are also stepping into the LEAP 1A and 1B technologies. So it's been an important part of our journey, and yes, we are definitely seeing that there are still major supply chain issues. We have still a lot of groundings of aircraft, especially on the GTF, and it will take the industry quite some time to overcome these. And I think in order to do that, it's extremely important that airlines partner with the right partners, have a good MRO or OEM partner on their side that helps them to increase predictability and plannability for their fleet. And the same is true for us as an MRO. I think we need to be close to the OEMs, we need to work with the OEMs, we need to try to leverage whatever we can in order to bring predictability back and to bring stable operations again for airlines. Yeah.
Thank you, Marcel. So, of course, MROs are very critical and plays, an important role in the entire aviation ecosystem. If you allow me, let me ask you my favorite question. Do you have any further expansion plans in India? Because, the supply chain issues are, impacted due to various factors around the world. So, it is normally, better to have different, I would say, centers around the world to provide services. So, for the audience, if you can just elaborate on that.
Yeah, first of all, I think we are in India for more than 20 years now with our setup that we have in Bangalore, which I'm representing here as well. And we have, from very humble beginnings, grown to a setup of more than 500 aviation experts now that are providing crucial services for our operations worldwide. We have established AOG functions here in India to better support our customers. We have people also on site here in Delhi with India and our key accounts here. So I think we are truly excited about the growth perspective that India offers, and the orders in place are of course stunning, and we hope to be part of this journey and to continue leveraging the talent that we have already developed in Bangalore, but of course to expand this further. And it will also one day mean stepping into more concrete MRO activities for sure. Yes.
Thank you, Marcel. It's great to note, of course, that you have been in India for 20 years and you are already providing your valuable services to the customers in India. We hope that one day India will become an MRO hub going forward. But for any industry to be successful, you need a lot of regulatory support. And, we have the privilege of Gaurav being with us. He, of course, is from IFSCA. So, Gaurav, from a GIFT City perspective, what are incentives that the GIFT City provides for the entire ecosystem, not only MRO, but otherwise? If you can just elaborate for the audience, that would be great.
Before I get into that specific incentive part, let me just very quickly explain what it is. Leasing can work very similar.
Is he audible? I think the sound.
Thank you. I think this is loud and clear. Before I get into that specific question on the incentive being provided for the aircraft leasing entities there in the GIFT City, I think let me very briefly explain about what the GIFT City is, what the IFSCA is, for the benefit of those who basically don't know about the entire framework over there. So, IFSCA, as I've already mentioned, the financial regulator based with the IFSC. The GIFT City is India's first international financial services center. It's in the special economic zone located right there, strategically between the capital city of Gujarat and commercial city, which is between the Gandhinagar and Ahmedabad. It is not just about the aircraft leasing, but all sort of financial entities, be it banks, insurance companies, funds, capital market intermediaries. All of them are currently present over there. We are currently having more than 1,200 entities licensed by us. In general, if I talk about incentives which are provided to the GIFT City entities, and not specifically to the aircraft leasing entities, but for all the entities which are there, then the central government has provided exemption from a tax on business income for 20 years now. So for those of you who is following the recent budget announcement, earlier it was 10 years out of 15 years, but now it has been extended to 20 years. Also, now there is much more clarity about post tax holiday rate of tax, which is going to be 15% from now onwards. Also, there is no GST, CTT, STT. Also, there is a stamp duty waiver on certain transactions by the government of Gujarat, and if you are setting up really large unit, then also there is other financial and non-financial incentives by the state government. Now, if I come to specific questions about incentives which is being provided to the aircraft lessors which are registered over there. Then the government, as far as taxation is concerned, has provided exemption from capital gain on sale of asset. So you don't pay any capital gain tax if you are selling the asset, let's say an aircraft, an engine, or any other asset class which is enabled by the IFSCA. Also, if you sell the entity itself, then if you are selling transferring the entity to any non-resident or any entity within the GIFT city, then also again there is a tax exemption. The GST is on a forward charge basis. The withholding tax is not applicable in case of the Indian industry. GST for lease rental being paid with 5%. So these are from the taxation point of view. If I talk about non-taxation enablers, then the BJP has promoted the import of aircraft. The Department of Commerce has brought in a specific rule 29A for import of aircraft and transfer of aircraft. Obviously, that rule is under discussion. So you is very well aware of that. Recently, and I'm sure that people here would be knowing about this development, that government has also enacted PIO Act, presently kept on commission, also the rules under the PIO Act. So the real incentive or the benefit which has been after the enactment of PIO Act is that now the rating of India from AWGS, so from let's say about 50 a year ago to 71.5, 72 now, which has translated into reduced cost of borrowing for the lessors and other development, also pass on these benefits to the customers. So yeah, these are some of the benefits. The benefits are much more than we could explain right now. Yeah.
Thank you, Gaurav. These are indeed great, incentives that GIFT City is providing. One concern that remains in the minds of the entire, lessor community, lender community, and even MRO is that, in future also, these facilities should continue. So, can you kind of, throw some light on how you see that, tomorrow the policy should not change, and those investors who have invested, keeping in mind the kind of support that IFSC is providing, should be available to them in the long term as well. Because if we are trying to create another, leasing and financing hub in India, as what we see in Dublin, Ireland, then these policy and these reforms have to be long term and not short term. So, if you can just throw some light on that.
So, all these benefits, exemptions, waiver that I have explained are provided under the Indian law itself. So, let's say Indian Income Tax Act itself provides these tax exemptions, or this stamp duty waiver which I talked about is provided by the government of Gujarat itself. All these benefits are hard-coded under the Indian law. So there is no ambiguity, there is no gray area in this particular matter, there is no treaty to be looked into. You just have to avail these benefits which are provided by the central government, which is passed by Parliament, and you just start availing it when you start doing your business there in GIFT City. And so currently the tax holiday window extends to 20 years out of 25 years. So you can choose any 20 years out of those 25 years for availing those tax benefits. Also, as I mentioned, that after your tax holiday period is over, you'll be taxed at 15%. So there is a very long-term certainty, even after your tax holiday period ends, that okay, once you set up there in the GIFT City, once my tax holiday period is over, I'm going to get charged 15%, and there is no ifs and buts now after this discussion. Also, very peculiar matter which many of you might not have noticed is the thing that in this particular budget announcement a month ago, government has provided that if any inquiries to be made on any entity being regulated by the IFSCA, then the taxman will not directly go to those entities. Taxman will first call for the information from IFSCA, and then only they'll sort of send inquiry, call for the information or things like that. So IFSCA is going to be their first port of call. So yeah, I mean, if you talk about the long term, certainly if you talk about the long term policy initiatives for the entities that are indicated, then I think that could not have been a better time than this to start exploring those opportunities that are present.
Thank you, Gaurav, for those assurances. It is, of course, known to all, and we have noted just now that tax incentives now continue for 20 more years to come. So that's a long period, 2 decades. So that's really a big positive for the industry players.
Just one more thing for Chinese. You can set up as many entities as you want. You may set up one particular entity for one aircraft or one engine or whatever it is. And each of those entities will receive a tax holiday period of 20 years. So let's say you set up an entity number 1 this year, entity number 2 in the following years. So from that particular year in which the second entity or third entity or fourth entity has been set up, that 20-year period will start counting from the year of establishment, and you can avail those tax benefits or other incentives from that particular year onwards and not from your first entity.
Great. That's also a very vital point that this tax holiday over 20 years would be on an each entity basis. And I think, if I'm not wrong, then I think this benefit will extend to each SPV as well. Okay, thanks for confirming. So, those who are interested, and if you want to establish an SPV in GIFT City for one particular asset, and tomorrow you want to expand and you need to have another SPV or multiple SPVs, then these SPVs will have that 20 years period running, separately and not in one go. Okay, that's a good positive. Thank you for that. Gagan, I know that I have been kept you quiet for quite some time. Very unusual though, and Gagan, you have tons of experience when it comes to aviation. And because our session is kind of focusing on MRO situation, do you think that airlines are now open to say MRO of their choice, or is it still OEM controlled industry? Gradually, I mean, more and more in your experience, you think that airlines can choose the MRO of their choice in particular?
Yeah, just thanks. I think the airlines are moving to their choice of the MROs. They are no more OEM centric. They are actually looking at building their own MRO facility. Especially in India, I think all the airlines are looking at having their own MRO facility. It's about the control of manpower, control of the cost, control of the turnaround time. OEM-based MROs are fading off, I would say, especially on the FM side. Engine side, they remain because of the high, I think, licensing fees they have kept. Once, Lufthansa is gone. I'm not sure whether Lufthansa would have an MRO in India soon or later, but I'm sure they have been planning for a couple of years. Actually, my question goes back to the IFSC. Would IFC be open to have an MRO industry, or just it will be for leasing? Because it's financial, I do understand that. But financial hub, if it is there, the MRO also comes under the financing hub also. So maybe IFSC, if there are MROs related, we can. So that will help, because at the end of the day, it's about subsidies, it's about tax frees, it's about the free zone. India does have in GMR, I think, like other in Hyderabad, Nagpur, but that's a very constrained space right now in India.
Thank you, Gagan. And my next question is to Vishok sir. Vishok sir, adding on what Gagan has just said, that airlines are more kind of independent when it comes to choosing MROs. You think that it's going to help the industry? And then I'll go back to Marcel, that how MROs are looking at it, particularly to expand further, because the more presence you have, the more chances of you getting, attracting more business.
I think it's very, very important in aviation. It's like Indian marriage. You have to choose your partner very carefully, due diligence, but once you choose, you still stay with them. Because the separation, divorce is always very expensive for both sides. So whether you are choosing a OEM or you are choosing a third party, end of the day, it is the number which works. So most of the maintenance manager has to move from maintenance to start thinking like a finance manager. They have to be techno-finance manager. Everything, end of the day, boils down to numbers, contracts, service level agreements. It doesn't matter whether you are working with OEM or you are working with the third party. If you work out what is the best number which you are getting after your negotiation, after your number, then you choose that. So it's a very, very important thing. You work as a techno-finance manager and then we choose, and for a long term. Any maintenance activity in aviation, anything you do is going to give you a result when you stay the 5 years, 10 years contract. You keep on hopping every 2 years, 6 months with the MRO, you're never going to get a result. So it's a more or less building up a relationship, long-term relationship, and then you're going to get the result.
Thank you, Vishok. I think I can see Marcel already smiling, he's saying that choose me for the long-term partner.
I like this picture very much about the Indian marriage, and yes, I also fully agree, and that's what I said earlier. I think it's about long-term sustainable partnerships that deliver value to both sides here. And the choice is with the airline, to be honest. Yeah. So whether it's an OEM, whether it's an MRO, it's the airline's choice who to marry, so to speak. And of course, and for us as an MRO, if we want to be chosen, we have to make sure that we are putting a competitive offer on the table that is, of course, commercially attractive, but that also delivers the value in the long term to the airline, right? And in order to do that, we have to choose an efficient production setup. And of course, we could do that in India, we could do that somewhere else. And on that, I think India is then also competing with global locations that are able to produce a competitive MRO product. Of course, we see that the market here is getting more and more attractive simply because there is more and more aircraft in the air, but also we see positive developments on the regulatory side. I mean, I'm based in Bangalore. If I look at the aero park south of the airport, I mean, it's impressive to see what has developed there in the last few years and how much aviation industry has allocated itself here. So it's gaining an attractiveness, and we are closely monitoring it. However, we always have to consider: are we at the end of the day enhancing our product offering towards the airlines because they have the ultimate choice who they want to marry? So.
Thank you, Marcel. Of course, I would like to believe that more and more airlines and lessors, they will choose you as their maintenance partner. And my next question to Srikantan is that you are sitting next to an MRO, and from an airline perspective, what do you think is the biggest challenge that you face? Shortage of part supply, or parts not being available on time. So just give us your perspective from an airline point of view.
Yeah, very right question. In fact, I was just waiting to come on. So basically, why are airlines running to do or set up their own MRO? Okay, that is a basic question, because they want to control the cost, they want to control the availability of the aircraft, the turnaround time. Okay, this is where is the main challenge today in a MRO, especially in a FM MRO or even in a component MRO. If you are going to start repairing the component by yourself, it is going to be a tedious job. And you can't keep on increasing your inventory just because your time is, not in control. So that is where the main challenge is. Of course, it is two sides of the coin. Airline looks at their bottom line, and the MRO provider looks at their bottom line. So that is where the problem is existing. If that gap can be, bridged, definitely airline would now to do their basic, the optimum performance of flying, keeping the aircraft flying, not focusing on the MRO. If you have the right choice, you have the right economics, and you have the right, availability of the aircraft, turnaround time, the airline would definitely don't want to invest in a huge MRO.
Thank you, Srikantan, for pointing these out. I hope that everybody's taking note that what airlines do face in terms of, regular issues when, to run an airline. Gagan, if I may also ask you to just add on to this that, based on your experience, what kind of issues airlines do face regularly and what do you think that, the government and MRO can do to kind of, assist you on these points?
I think I agree with Rishabh that you need a marriage, but today's I think time has changed. People are getting more into situationship or coming out of marriage. So coming back to the situationship is obviously availability. Coming for a very slots. Airlines are looking after first is the induction slots. Given the rare capacity, the induction slots are very scarce. Hence, they bring it back home. It's not like Srikanth said, I can't do everything at home. I do need a partner. And if the partner is able to fulfill my requirement, then comes a partner, whether it's an OEM or a local MRO, either.
Right. Thank you, Gagan. And, I know that the clock is ticking, but let me ask one question to the regulator who has been hearing airline problems and MRO's vision to expand in India, and of course we heard the great opportunities that IFSC is providing. Gaurav, in your experience, can you share some some success stories of GIFT City, which kind of underline the government's efforts and of course your hard work in building the leasing ecosystem within the country?
IFSC as an organization started working in October 2020 amidst the pandemic which was going on at that point in time. In February 2021, the budget announcement was made and aircraft leasing was announced to be being enabled from the GIFT IFSC. In the same month, IFSCA also issued the framework for aircraft leasing. So from 2021 to 2026, it's been just 5 years. In these 5 years, the aircraft leasing has picked up tremendously. As we speak, there has been a total of 371 assets which has been leased from the GIFT City. About 200 aircraft, which also includes the helicopter. About 90 odd engines and about 85 ground support equipments. The APUs have been leased. If I talk about these success stories in the last 1 year or so, then I would say that not only the leasing, not only the lessors have established there in the GIFT City, but also the GIFT City-based banks, the IBUs as we call it, have also started lending to these lessors for leasing of aircraft, and so on and so forth. So in the last 1 year, about 50 aircraft of all sorts, narrow body, wide body, private jet, trainer aircraft. About 50 of them have been financed by the GIFT City-based banks, and the total financing is around 650 million. So these are the figures for the last 1 year. Leading two airlines of India, both Indigo and Air India, have their leasing arm over there. And they have been pioneering the success story of aircraft leasing with the GIFT IFSC. Both of them have leased around 100 plus aircraft from there. and it includes all sort of leasing, be it operating lease, be it finance lease, be it leasing of net operating, right operating, everything. So this has been the major success story of Leasing, that not only the leasing but also the financing has picked up. In one of the transactions that we saw, even all the stakeholders which are involved in leasing transactions, be it bankers, be it insurers, be it asset managers, be it advisory firms like yours, law firms, tax firms, all of them were based out of City only. So the entire ecosystem, which is related to aircraft leasing, is now have reached an inflection point and is now getting mature each passing day. So next time, probably next year when we are sitting here, I'll be getting some more success stories.
Thank you, Gaurav. These are indeed very impressive numbers. And being a lawyer and being in the industry for last 20 years, we ourselves are involved in a number of transactions taking place through GIFT City, and we hope that we'll get more mandates, as GIFT City goes further. With that, I would like to thank my panelists. But before we conclude, let me open the floor for questions. Anybody, wishes to ask any question, please raise your hand. We have 5 minutes, so we can take a few questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question, do raise your hand. We'll take the microphone.
Very, very conservative. The maintenance has to look beyond the way conventionally we maintain the aircraft, we maintain the maintenance management. I just give a quick example of the Southwest Airline. There was one of the first who started 20-minute turnaround of the aircraft. And one of the crucial factors was there, how to refuel the aircraft. It's very dangerous. If you miss a step, you blow up aircraft, you delay, take more time on refueling, you lose the sector, you lose the tire sector. They not check what the conventional way we are doing. They went to Formula 1 racing. They observe how they are refueling the Formula 1, very hot car. They take more time, you lose the lap, you miss a step, you burn the car. And they brought the practice back into airline. Why don't in the maintenance we look at concept of OEM is more secure or controlling maintenance is a more safe, more cost control has gone. It's whether OEM or third party, whether it's in-house and outsource, it's just management. How to manage the services, which is the best optimized cost. One example, and it's not a core activity of airlines. They have to outsource, they have to move from making an empire to managing the contracts, managing the service levels. Apple doesn't manufacture a single part, and they are the best mobile manufacturer. Why? They're selling the content. They're not wasting their time and energy on that. They're creating apps, they're creating a data, they're creating a consumption. So I think as a maintenance professionals in the leadership, we have to move up that mode. We have to control, we have to build up our empire, and we have to work with OEM.
Thank you for the wonderful insight. I know that I have been asked to vacate, but maybe one last question if I can ask. Anyone who has any question, please raise your hands. Else, okay, I don't see any hands. So thank you very much, panelists, once again, and thank you, for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much.